A week has already passed, and the 7th episode of the 3rd season of House of the Dragon is finally here. So, let's get straight to the point. It is a very lovely morning in King's Landing, and Helaena has been allowed to leave her room, or at least that's how it seems, since she was really only dreaming about being free and is still inside her chambers. It's just that on this morning, the Queen has come to visit her. The bad news is that she brings no word about her mother, and the Queen clarifies that she is on a crucial mission, meaning communication must be minimal and patience comes first before everything else. However, just a few seconds later, we realize that the Queen actually has no patience at all. After cutting herself on the Iron Throne, she is starting to believe that her death is drawing near, and she wants a dreamer to reassure her that it won't happen. But when Helaena tells her that she cannot control her visions once again, Rhaenyra loses complete control and grabs her firmly by the arm with great strength. At the exact same time that happens, Aemond is trying to recover his own strength, but his wounds are quite serious, and his sword is far too heavy for him right now. A few seconds later, his mother appears and makes up a story about how she managed to escape, explaining that Rhaenyra is holding Helaena prisoner and that she needs the most loyal of her sons to help rescue her. As if that weren't enough to earn his trust, Alicent kisses her son and he lunges toward her to let out everything he has always felt, keeping this big secret hidden between the sheets. However, just a few seconds later, it is revealed that it's actually Alice, who is so desperate to have a child with him that she has decided to turn to tricks to achieve her goal. The young man runs out of the room to try and clear his head, but right there, he bumps into his real mother, who has finally arrived after a long journey, and he can't believe she actually found him. Not far from there, the forces of the Riverlands, led by Lord Tully and Roddy the Ruin, are on the verge of reaching Tumbleton, carrying the head of their latest conquest on a pike. In the city, Ulf arrives to warn his cousin about what is happening. 20,000 men will be here in less than a day, and it's time for them to start planning a strategy, as the city won't hold out forever. On the other hand, Daemon arrives at the Vale Castle to ask where his daughter is, but Lady Arryn tells him that keeping her secret any longer is far too risky. She says it's time to send a raven to the Queen to let her know that the rider of Sheepstealer is still alive. Daemon has to beg her to give him just one more day to handle the situation, and she agrees, offering him some useful information regarding her whereabouts before he leaves right away. Not far from there, Adam is trying to convince Baela to help him get the Queen to change her mind so he can be granted his father's titles and last name. However, she reminds him that after what happened at the Gullet, she has become an outcast, and the Queen won't be doing any favors for someone who failed to protect her son. Adam tells her that his only reason for doing this is because he wants to get married soon, and a few seconds later, he tries looking at her with sweet, affectionate eyes. But Baela hits him with news he wasn't expecting, asking if his brother told him about the kiss. So, he just found out that the girl he likes actually prefers his own brother. Luckily, a big enough distraction pops up, and their dragons are able to warn them about Daemon, who is flying over at high speed. Right at that moment, the scene cuts straight over to Harrenhal, where we can see that Aemond has already put on his armor, while his mother tells him a pretty complicated story about how she managed to escape. Alicent brings him to Sir Edrion, the man who risked his life to save her, and whom she trusts completely. However, as Aemond extends his hand to thank him for his favors, he pulls out a dagger with his other hand and plunges it into his neck, killing the man who was tasked with assassinating him, and telling his mother that there are kept secrets in this place he cannot share. So now Alicent isn't just left with the most unhinged of her children, but she has also lost the only man who could have killed him, so she could gain her freedom alongside Helaena. Back in Tumbleton, Ormond has Corlys sitting at his table, dining on squab, and being treated very politely, since he has a proposal to make, one that he thinks will be of great interest to him. However, it turns out Lord Corlys doesn't want to hear a single word of what he has to say, and gets up from the table, demanding to be taken back to his cell, as the only thing he'll get out of him is a prisoner, not an ally. A few seconds later, we head back to King's Landing, where a council meeting is underway to address the massive problems caused by empty treasuries. The man appointed to deal with the issue is starting to suspect he was placed there as a scapegoat, meant to lose his head once the crowd finds out. Before the Queen can offer an excuse, Baela interrupts the meeting to report that they spotted a dragon during their watch. However, as they got closer, they realized it wasn't Daemon, but Sheepstealer, and worst of all, it has a rider. They don't know if the rider is new or old since they lost lost track among the mountains, but someone was definitely on its back. The queen leaves the meeting right away, and Mysaria takes advantage of the moment to tell her that Daemon might not be as sincere as he seems. His absence right now, while Sheepstealer shows up again, is reason enough to doubt him. Rhaenyra doesn't take this well, and Mysaria tries to apologize quickly, but ends up placing a hand on her, putting the guards on high alert. 2 seconds later, the queen tells them everything is fine and demands that Adam be brought to her immediately. At that moment, we take a few seconds to see what happened to Aegon, who is riding alongside Larys and Thailand toward a small town near a port, since they still want to head toward Braavos. However, a bunch of people suddenly show up, and a woman tells them they are fleeing from an army that is very close to reaching the town. Their crest is a red fish, and Larys tells him that they are Rhaenyra's allies. So now there are only 2 choices left: return to Rook's Rest and risk them having found the corpse of the man Aegon killed and murdering them, or keep moving forward and try to avoid a direct encounter with the soldiers. Both choices are extremely dangerous. Back in Harrenhal, Alicent is trying to convince her son to return to King's Landing and take the throne, though what she truly wants is for him to die in any way possible. But Aemond reveals to her that this castle will be his new stronghold, where a new line of immaculate riders will be born, and that Alice is the chosen one for this destiny. What happens next is that Alice acts quite upset and asks Aemond to speak in private to reveal that a dark mist surrounds his mother, meaning she has come to bring him harm. However, he tells her to keep her dark thoughts to herself and not to try defaming his mother. During those seconds, Alicent leaves the castle and steals a dagger from Ser Edrion's body, a weapon that could be very useful to her. On top of that, she spots a few poisonous berries by the edge of the rocks, which gives her an idea. Back with Aegon, the guy he cleaned up manure with in Rook's Rest tells them that the Red Fish Army is searching for his Lannister friend, and he also wants to know if they've seen Janos, though Larys assures him they haven't, even though he knows full well that Aegon murdered him. So now they find themselves at a crossroad. There is no time left to run away, and the army will be here in a matter of minutes. The only thing they can do is abandon Thailand and attempt to escape via the river. But Aegon flat out refuses. He will face those men and make them change their minds, so they follow him instead. Larys thinks he has completely lost his mind. However, Thailand swears his loyalty right then and there, staying by his side to die with honor while Larys walks away, promising to tell his story through songs. We shift from that madness to a dragon fight, where Daemon finally manages to catch up with Sheepstealer and tries to bring him down, something that doesn't take him long at all. And soon enough, father and daughter find themselves face to face. Daemon leaves the safety of his dragon, and Rhaenyra tries to tell him to back off, as Sheepstealer doesn't fully obey her. She's right, because as soon as the dragon spots him out in the open, it starts channeling fire in its throat, right on the verge of incinerating him. Caraxes is 2 seconds away from killing Sheepstealer, but Daemon orders him to hold back and stay calm, allowing them to actually have a conversation. Rhaenyra tells him she's tired of living like this. She doesn't want to die far away from the people she loves, so she intends to earn everyone's forgiveness. She managed to spot Vhagar a few days ago and is ready to die trying to kill him, or even better, finding Aemon's hideout so the queen will be pleased. Realizing she is set on dying for this, Daemon does the right thing as a father and tells her they will do it together. She can't kill Vhagar on her own. She's far too inexperienced, but with his help, they might just stand a chance. The bad news is that before they can take off, 2 dragons appear in the distance, and as they get closer, we realize it's the queen and Adam who have come to get their revenge. Rhaenyra lands right next to Caraxes, preventing him from taking flight, while Adam plays it smarter, making sure to cut off Rhaenyra so she can't climb onto Sheepstealer. 4 dragons are on the verge of a clash, and the queen demands an explanation as to why her husband is talking to her son's killer. A few seconds later, Adam returns carrying Rhaena over his shoulders, and even though Sheepstealer wants to protect her, 3 dragons are facing him, keeping him from doing anything. Cornered, Rhaena falls to her knees and confesses what she did. She couldn't control her dragon, which led to Jace's death along with all those innocent soldiers. Enraged, Rhaenyra starts approaching her, but right then, Sheepstealer decides to defend his rider at all costs, taking on 3 dragons all by himself. Syrax is the first to unleash her fire on Sheepstealer, who counters with a brutal strike, dragging her across the ground and dealing heavy damage. Luckily, Adam's dragon is right there to lend a hand. Sheepstealer comes out on top in the 2-on-1, but Syrax manages to injure his throat, causing him serious pain. At that moment, we see Daemon mounted on Caraxes, who outmatches everyone in sheer size, grabbing Sheepstealer with his talons to slam him directly into the dirt. Rhaenyra snatches Rhaena up and takes to the skies on her dragon, while the last thing Rhaena sees before pulling away is Caraxes clamping onto her dragon's neck, dealing a devastating wound. Daemon orders Adam to take flight and escort the queen. Syrax is injured, and she will need his help, assuring him that he will take care of finishing this off, since Sheepstealer is badly wounded and won't put up much resistance. With a command in High Valyrian, Daemon orders Caraxes to kill the rogue dragon. At that moment, Caraxes lunges at the base of its wing and begins biting it with all his strength, but Sheepstealer isn't willing to go down so easily and strikes him hard with his tail, managing to knock Daemon off his back. This buys him just enough seconds to escape, and even though he can't take flight, Daemon decides that enough is enough, and a dead dragon would be a massive loss, even when dealing with one so wild and practically untamable. On the other side of the story, Rhaenyra finally reaches King's Landing and orders Rhaena to be placed in a room and kept there until she figures out what to do with her. In Harrenhal, Alicent prepares a wine spiked with the poisonous berries and goes to her son's room, where he is practicing with his sword and trying to regain his strength. She tells him she knows full well that Alice doesn't want her there, and that if she is disrupting any kind of understanding they had, she can leave without drama. She doesn't want to cause him trouble while he is still injured. Her son tells her there is no need to listen to everything Alice says. He trusts her, but he trusts his mother as well. It's right at this moment that Alicent figures it's wise to place the glass of wine in his hand and ask him to drink up so he can sleep much better tonight. With the poisoned glass of wine in hand, Aemond confesses one of his absolute biggest secrets to his mother, that he tried to kill his brother, but she merely strokes his face gently and tells him that she already knew about it all along. He has always been quite a foolish child. To keep us hanging on the cliffhanger, we don't actually get to see if Aemond drinks the wine, but we do travel to King's Landing, where Daemon tries to explain to his wife why he did what he did. Lying to her about catching Sheepstealer's rider was a mistake, and Rhaenyra confesses that every night she looks at that skull he brought her, thinking over and over that her son actually got justice for his death, only to find out it was all a complete lie. Daemon strokes her face and assures her he would never conspire against her, that he only wanted to do what was best for both sides, while confessing that he hasn't been a good father to Rhaena and didn't want to watch her die like that. In the room where she has been confined, Rhaena gets a visit from Baela, and you can clearly see the resentment in her eyes. So the young girl just starts apologizing for everything that happened. She knows full well that she was destined to become both a queen and a wife, and now none of that will ever happen. Baela tells her to shut her mouth, walks over slowly, and then wraps her in a hug, telling her that she is going to start over, and that she had better do it right this time. At the exact same time that happens, Adam is wrapping up his daily patrol when one of the soldiers hands him a small box that arrived for him, inside of which lies his father's finger, along with his house seal ring, a direct message he ought to understand immediately. Back in Harrenhal, Aemond staggers into Alice's room, feeling extremely dizzy, and just a few seconds later taxes right onto the floor. But she doesn't react at all. In fact, she knew full well this was going to happen, and tells him out loud that he's a total idiot. At the exact same time that happens, Alicent is processing the reality that she just murdered her own son, and needs to get out of the castle immediately. There's no turning back after this point. She has to run away fast, and without Sir Edrian's protection, she likely won't make it very far. Back home, Helena is having yet another one of her visions, where she can see the exact moment she gives birth, but as soon as her baby leaves her womb, the soldiers snatch him away, leaving her without even the chance to see whether it's a boy or a girl. However, we do get to see her riding her dragon, facing off against the city soldiers, and burning them all to a crisp with fire. At the end of the vision, she finds herself on the farm she has always wanted, surrounded by chickens and her 2 children, when all of a sudden it starts snowing, and a dense fog covers everything completely. Once night falls, Rhaenyra hasn't been able to fall asleep, so she gets up, grabs the fake skull sitting on her table, and tosses it into the fire. Even though we expected to see her go make peace with her husband, Rhaenyra ends up in Mysaria's chambers instead, accusing her of doing everything necessary to turn her against Daemon. But Mysaria tells her she is only acting in her own best interest and has been trying to guide her to rule as her father once did. These sweet words manage to win her over, and the very next thing we see is the 2 of them locking lips in a kiss that doesn't just stop there, as Mysaria pulls her down onto the bed and they keep going. Since that's not nearly as interesting as what's about to happen to Aegon, we travel over to his confrontation with the Redfish army, where their leader tells them they are claiming this land under the authority of Rhaenyra, the rightful queen of the Seven Kingdoms, and they must drop to their knees or die. However, Aegon has another plan, telling them he doesn't intend to submit to the fake reign of the Targaryen bitch. At that point, the army leader recognizes Tywin Lannister and tells him he'll be dragged off to the capital to spill where he hid the stolen gold. As for the deformed guy, he's dying right here, right now. Furious, Aegon snaps back that he's no deform. His name is Aegon Targaryen, true heir to Viserys, sixth of his name, king of the Andals, the Rhaenyra, and the First Men, anointed by the High Septon himself under the light of the Seven, and under that very same light, he'll fight them right now. While he's shouting all this, the men start backing away, not because they're scared of him, but because something terrifying is creeping up behind them. When Aegon turns around, he realizes his beloved Sunfire is still alive. His precious dragon, the one he longed so much to see return, is standing right behind him. With this image of Aegon standing in front of all these men, and with his deformed dragon looming right behind him, the episode comes to an end, but not before we see him utter Dracarys as the fire consumes the soldiers, leaving them with no choice but to run for their lives. In a final scene, far away from the dragonfire, we can see Ormond having a friendly meeting with Ulf, who is finally enjoying a cold beer after missing it for so long. Ormond tells him he heard about the unfortunate incident back in town, where Daemon beat and humiliated him right in front of the commoners, even though he's a knight and doesn't deserve that kind of treatment. Ulf confesses that the queen broke her promise. They promised him a castle, yet he hasn't received anything so far. He wished he could live in Honeyholt, but Ormond cuts him off and tells him that place is absolute trash. A man like him deserves nothing less than Driftmark, the seat of House Velaryon, which won't belong to them much longer anyway, and he's ready to hand it over if he swears loyalty. Ulf would become the Lord of the Tides, a major position of power in the Seven Kingdoms, and no one would ever laugh at him or humiliate him again. But Ulf cuts him off this time, stating that not only will they not laugh, but they'll burn. And with Ulf's smile signaling a switch in sides, and Ormond securing a dragon for his ranks, the episode finally comes to a close. So make sure to leave a like and a comment so you don't miss what happens next week.